Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Tuesday, the 24th of October. With McShane, we will work our way through 2 Kings today, reading chapter 5, the story of Naaman, a Syrian commander who has leprosy. An Israelite slave girl who works for his wife says, "Go to the prophet in Samaria and you can be cured." So Naaman goes to the Syrian king and says, "May I do this?" He says, "Yes." And he gives him a letter of authorization. This becomes one of the most amusing little passages of scripture to my mind. He has this letter and he takes it to the king, and in the letter it says, "With this letter I am sending you my servant Naaman, so that you may cure him of his leprosy." And I always think, what do you make if somebody arrives at your doorstep with a letter like that from some other king who's probably more powerful than you are? The king of Israel said, "This is a disaster. Am I a god? What's he trying to do?" And his perspective is, why does this fellow send somebody to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he's trying to pick a quarrel with me. And so here are two people that have no real concept of God or how he works and what he can do. And therefore they end up in this quagmire. Luckily, Elisha sends a message to the king and says, "Send him to me." So Naaman goes to Elisha, who merely sends a message out to him and says, "Go and wash 7 times in the Jordan." Naaman's response is very much like the king's. He doesn't get it. And he takes offense. And he says, "I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, wave his hand over the spot, and cure me of my leprosy. I'm not going to go and do what he tells me. That's nonsense." He was expecting some kind of religious ritual, something dramatic, something sort of obvious and religious. He wasn't expecting to just be told, "Go and wash in the river." And so he says, "I'm not going to." Fortunately, his servants prevail upon him to do it, and he's cured of his leprosy. And as I read that, I thought, it's something that is still true of the world today, where people don't know God. And none of Naaman and the 2 kings didn't know God. They won't understand how God works. And much of what God does will seem foreign to them. And when we're sharing the good news and we're talking about the gospel, where people don't have our perspective, aren't part of the church, they will often just not understand. They just won't get it. Go to some person outside of the church and say, "Have you been saved?" They won't. "Saved from? What do you mean saved? I'm not drowning. What's the problem?" And it's going to be foreign to them. From within the church, from within the faith, we know exactly what we're talking about. But people outside don't. They'll be like the kings. They won't get it. And we need to remember that when we share the good news, when we talk to people, we need to be gracious, we need to be compassionate, we need to sometimes explain better what we're talking about so that they can grasp it. And we need to just take courage from the fact that we have a God who does cure people of leprosy. And we see Naaman go away with a completely different perspective on God. And so be encouraged as you share your perspective to do it graciously and considerately, knowing that other people don't share our point of view and it's foreign to them. But they do need to hear it. Be blessed.